Hello and welcome to the second player profile and projection for the 2021 season. My name's Jimmy. Sitting next to me is Jake. In the corner, we got producer BBD, and the man of the hour today is Zack Britton, reliever extraordinaire, lefty out of the pen. Jake, he's with the Yankees for 2 more seasons, 2021 and 2022. They brought him over 2019, right? Was it 2018?
2018.
2018?
Trade, yeah.
2019. So this is his third full year on the team. Well, last year's a half season, so however you want to do that.
Stuff. He's rebranded with the Yankees, Zach with a K.
Yep.
I think that kind of gets overlooked in all of this. And Jim, I think one of my favorite things to do is to go at the analytics community, even though I love and appreciate them. Zack Britton might be the most underrated relief pitcher in baseball. Some of the numbers that I've dug up on him, it doesn't make sense.
He's the best or second best lefty reliever in baseball. There's really the only 2 options.
And it feels weird even classifying left him or righty, because he's such a unique, weird pitcher because he basically throws a 95-mile-per-hour curveball.
Mm-hmm. They just accidentally call it a sinker.
Bowling ball. Here we go, Jim. With the Yankees, it's now part of 3 seasons. He's had a 2.14 ERA over 105 innings. Since 2014, the last 6 years, he's got a 1.84 ERA out of the bullpen. I know ERA not always the best metric for relievers because it can get skewed. But guess what? When it can't get skewed from the low end, that just means you've done real good. And the analytics community comes out against Zach because his strikeout numbers aren't where you'd expect them to be. But analytics are all about interpreting the information. And does it look different when Zack Britton does it? Absolutely. So that's kind of why that the analytics don't come back perfectly on him, but the results do, man. I remember even when he first came over, there was a couple times he lost the zone, and we were a little concerned about that. You're going to get 1 or 2 innings every year where the ball does find holes, and that's a bad feeling when it does. But, man, when that's what you got to worry about, who cares, man? He's been lights out for us. He's been a top reliever in baseball for, coming up on a decade with a couple more good years.
He's fun to watch, too. And his pitch mix is changing ever so slightly as the years go on. So Jake said he's been heavy with that sinker, which is really a bowling ball. Makes everyone swing over it. I had his heat map up of launch angle against, and it's the complete opposite of what hitters are trying to do. They just spike it into the ground against him. But over the years, the last couple years, really the last 2 years with the Yankees, his slider is getting more and more into the mix, as well as his sinker. So just to give you a little insight, in 2014, he threw 90% sinkers and 8% slider. That stayed for the next couple years at 90%. In 2016, it went up to 91% sinker, one-pitch pitcher.
Yeah.
In 2019, the sinker dropped down to 86%, and the slider came up to 14%. In 2020, the sinker dropped down to 80%, and the slider bumped up to 20%. Now, that's still really a one-pitch pitcher, but I found it interesting because the slider performed really, really well for him last season. The slider had 0 hits. No one got a hit on his slider, and his slider had a 28% put-away percentage.
Yeah.
That's really high, where the sinker only had 15. So I'm wondering if we're going to see these 2 pitches meet in the middle again, and maybe it's now 70 and 30 sinker-slider combo. Because that's the trend it's going on. And last year, if you look at the results of the slider, they're really good.
Yeah, it becomes an interesting thing because of it starts turning into the do what you're good at. And if Zack Britton were to get beat on a slider, you say, why don't you throw that power fastball? But the slider has come a long way. We've gotten to see it develop as Yankee fans, which has been a lot of fun. And I think the bigger to zoom out into baseball a little bit, like Zack Britton, 2011, comes up as an Orioles starting pitcher, didn't work out. It kind of skews his career stats because he got knocked around for 2 seasons as a starter. Sorry, I'm smiling, Zach, but that's kind of what happens with baseball. Hitters are really good, Jim. You could clip that. Hitters are really good.
You'll put that on your record?
And it's so much about deception and not... A hitter can tell if your release point is different, and that's why Zack Britton for years couldn't find that second pitch, plus he had that bowling ball fastball to go to. He's got it now, man. That slider comes out of his hand. It's the same windup. It's the same release point, and it is nasty. He goes to it when he needs that strikeout, which, going into what you said about pitch mix, I still think he leans heavy into the fastball, and he can kind of save that slider for those innings that I was talking about earlier. When he's starting to run into trouble, he can dig into the tank and bust out one of those sliders, and it really is a nasty pitch, man.
I've got it up here. Maybe I'll give this to Kyle, who does some editing for us. Maybe even on the YouTube, we can try and throw this up when we edit them. But, like, yeah.
I mean, it's not a gimmick pitch at all. We see a lot of relievers that if they have their one go-to pitch, you know, their off speed is gimmicky. We kind of saw it with Chad Green for a little bit before he really found his knuckle curve. Like, he was always looking for that second pitch, and it was just to get pitchers off the fastball. Zack Britton's slider is now its own identity.
Nasty. Yeah. So that's exciting. It almost feels like, you know, there's more to come. Like, it's like second phase. Like, hey, I've been throwing a sinker for 5 years straight. Maybe people are ready for it. Hint, they're not. They still can't fuck with it. But now, like, all right, I got to think about this unhittable sinker, this bowling ball. Now I also have to worry about a slider out of this dude's hand? That sucks. So I'm excited about that. He's been very reliable for the Yankees. He's been really good. What?
He didn't give up 19 innings. He didn't give up a home run last year.
Oh, he didn't?
No.
That's exciting.
It's nuts, man. In today's baseball, that's insane.
It's really good.
And I think that's been one of the biggest...
He gave up 3 last year, so that tracks.
3 in 2019, that one Vlad homer, that was like the coolest thing of the baseball season, that when we weren't rooting for the Yankees. Man, and I think that's the other thing that in today's baseball is so unique, because the other guys that are big ground ball pitchers, you're normally going to see starting pitchers. It's guys that are trying to work their way through games and get double play balls. When Zack Britton comes out of the bullpen, there is a little bit less of a fear factor than you have with a normal reliever. You know, Chapman, Chad Green, any good reliever, if you clip their good fastball, you're back in the game. Zack Britton kind of doesn't have that. It kind of leaves you a little more at ease than it normally does with other relievers, which is just a nice perk.
His home run log, like the guys that have clipped him since 2016.
Good list.
Yeah, it's like it's Mookie Betts, Matt Olson, Seager, Abreu, Davis, Cruz, Sano.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's like mashers.
That's pretty good.
It's a lot. It's not, you know, you don't get like
Trevor Plouffe on there.
Oh, imagine.
Suzuki's had a goal the other night.
Did he?
Deep cut for the Patreon only. Go subscribe. Past 2 years, his ERA has been 1.9 for the Yanks. So,
do you think he'll get a chance to close a little bit? Do you think there'll be a 2-week stretch where something's going on with Chappie and he'll go back there? I mean, you know, on a lot of other teams, this dude's a closer.
Yeah, I think. No, for me, it's injury based. I think we saw Chapman have that one funk where he kind of had to be removed from the closer role. I think Chapman, as both of these guys get a little later in life, Lindsey Adler had a nice article about Chapman actually working on his splitter again, because he's like, I can't just throw 103 every time. So hey, you never know with baseball. Relievers are the most volatile position. If Chapman's working on a splitter and it starts going haywire, I could see it happen. And I guess the walking away thing I would say is you don't have to feel bad about it. Like if Zack Britton jumps into the closer role for 2 weeks, 2 months, you feel pretty good about it.
Yeah. God forbid, like, you know, Chapman gets injured and he's out for the season. It's kind of like, all right, well, we have the best backup closer in all of baseball.
Ooh, I like that.
Pretty easy to say, right?
Yeah, I think Brewers could go like Devin Williams.
Ooh, yeah. But established.
Guys have, different teams have combinations of relievers.
But a closer is the mental makeup. Like, this dude can do it.
He's not wearing makeup. We met his brother once, and he was a good guy.
he's got a fun name, right? Buck Britton?
Buck Britton.
Yes.
Buck Britton, so that's cool. Jim, I know you're an ERA plus guy, 231 past 6 years, so that just means he's been 131% better than the average reliever.
What about can you tell everyone his ERA plus in 2016?
Yeah, it's 803.
Which means he was 703% better than the average reliever.
Fourth in the Cy Young that year. What else do we need on Britton?
That's all. You just hope that he doesn't lose the zone. I mean, that's the only thing crazy.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if he's hit it. If it's ground balls.
Yeah.
Do the 6-man infield if you want. They teased it in spring training, but they never actually used it. In the last 2 seasons, Jake, hitters have okay. Pause, regroup, think, Jimmy, be smart. In the last 2 seasons, he's induced 126 outs in play. Like ball put in play resulted in an out. 126.
Okay.
How many of those in the last 2 seasons do you think were to the outfielder or like made the outfielder run backwards?
To the outfielder made them run backwards.
126 outs.
I would say 16.
17.
Ah!
Yeah.
Aha!
Yeah. 13%.
The Pirates' life for me.
So, if Britton's coming in a close game, it's also time to do your defensive replacement in the infield.
Yeah, get funky this year.
Like if Andujar somehow finds his way into third base and then Britton's coming in, Andujar can't be playing third base anymore.
You're out, Four Eyes.
Yeah. Wade, Tyro.
Tyro time.
With Zack Britton comes a defensive replacement. If need be. Sometimes they have probably Gio Glaber, DJ Voit, and they don't need it.
Or maybe if Britton needs work, which, Jim, you were one of the leaders on the Zack Britton needs regular work train.
Britton regular.
So if it's a blowout, you put Britton out there to keep him regular with Andujar out there as like practice.
Yeah, sure.
Game practice.
If he needs extra. No, it's more about he just can't take like 5 days off. Remember that? Let me see. What were the stats there? Because it was 1 year, it was like jarring.
You think Yes Network, when Britton comes in, is like, hey, let's keep one camera on Gio because something cool is probably about to happen.
When he have 3, yes.
Yeah.
I think every position has a player, every position has a camera on them.
Gio cam. They move 2 to Gio. They get angles.
Smart.
Yeah.
On 3 days rest in 2019, his last full season, he had an 8.10 ERA. On 1 day rest, he had a 0.49. It was very obvious. Like, oh, dude, this guy gets a little rusty. You can't have him sit for too long.
It's rust, and it's a classic sinker ball thing. Like, this has been a baseball thing through the years. The sinker ballers go, and the more work they get, whether it's later in games or multiple days, the better the ball sinks.
So if you are saving Britt because you want him to be like fresh for the postseason, just know that if he's been resting for 5 days, you have to give him a pretty good leash to come in on that first day off a lot of rest. That's fair.
Get him in one way or another on the last day of the season, if not the week leading up.
Yeah. Postseason, like prep, he's got to be a big part of that.
Spoiled Yankee fans talking about getting Zack Britton work on the last day of the season. It's nice.
It's where we live.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice place to be, my friend.
Does Researcher Max have an over-under for us?
Research Max. A little bit of a deep cut, BBD.
Yeah, he gives us, and this is, I was happy with the numbers you put out earlier because it supports this. Over under 75% sinker usage. If you want to drop it to
Max,
72.
I prepped the whole audience for this. So it was 80 last year, right?
80 last year.
So it's basically, do you think it's going to progress higher, or do you think it stays kind of in the same realm?
So over under
75.
So the favorite would be over. He's never been under 75.
Right. But he's progressing that way.
But it's never happened.
It has yet to happen.
It has yet to happen. So if there was odds involved, I'd 100% take the under because I think you're getting a better payout.
Right.
And I'll take the under. It is progressing that way. It's a full season, so he has more time to get funkier and try new things with it. So, yeah, this is a deep cut by Max. I love it. I didn't know this was coming, so I'm glad I kind of did the whole prep on it.
I almost floated it to you right before we hit record if you wanted to think on it ahead of time, but you did.
I think, yes, I'm going to take the under. I do think the odds are in favor of the over because, again, as a reliever, he's never been under 80.
And I think that's what gets me here with going over is that I think he still gets comfortable with the slider. I think, again, it's awesome to have. It can keep hitters off balance, but I think he still wants that as his, break glass in case of emergency. So I still think you probably keep it in 80-20. And, you have some fun with it.
If this one hits, I'll be very oh, yeah.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a long shot that I'm banking on.
See, I disagree there a little bit. I still think it's very feasible. It's probably 60-40 in my head.
Never done it. Never come close.
Never been had snacks. But there's a reason we're talking about it. Watch that slider, Zack Britton.
Slider time.
Brother
That's the Zack Britton player profile and projection. Oh, did we do baseball reference projections?
Baseball reference projections.
We always skip them.
Britton.
We always skip them because they're kind of dumb.
Yeah, I mean,
especially for a reliever.
57 innings pitched, 3.47 ERA, which, he hasn't done that since 2013 when he started 7 games. So
they're projecting a homer allowed this year.
Okay.
They're projecting 6 home runs this year.
So.
I mean,
it's a 43% reliability. So
when the
good job, good effort.
They don't believe
reference.
in that one.
That's I'm insulted by the 6 home runs.
Know what they should do? They should just make the stats more like his normal stats and then have a higher reliability.
It seems normal.
What is this baseball reference? Reach out to Poppy Gordo. We can work through this because this is wrong. And you know it. You're admitting to it.
The last time he gave up 6 home runs in a season was 2012. And they're getting the ball.
I'm gonna pull a Jomboy. I'm gonna contact them. They know this wrong. They admit it.
I DM them a lot, so you can. I don't know.
Did you just DM them on Twitter?
Yeah. I don't know who's on the other side of it.
Okay.
But I just do
the check mark now.
They're just going to tell you that some
flex that baseball check. Well, we're going to have a talk about it.
Yeah. It is. See, we stopped doing the baseball reference projections as part of these last season, and some people told us, hey, you're not doing the baseball reference. It's well, they're pretty difficult.
Yeah.
But we'll keep it going. So with 43% reliability, they're projecting him to have his worst season ever.
Great.
Projections are rarely on the optimistic end, but they said in there they don't believe in this.
I mean, I could give, off the top of my dumb brain, I could give every player a 70% projection. To throw out a 43% with your computer model.
As a reliever, Zack Britton has never had an ERA that high. No. He's never given up that many home runs. Yeah, I mean...
How about this? I'm going to back off baseball reference. This is obviously a computer system that just auto-populates it. Zack Britton kind of breaks the system. That's what he's done here.
He's never given up 22 earned runs.
I feel better about it.
They have him having the worst statistical season as a reliever that he's ever had. He's never given up 26 walks. They have him breaking every record in the wrong way as a reliever. So, baseball reference.
But they're less than 50% confident about it because all of that doesn't make sense. So, they're basically still saying he should have a good year.
Kind of like me betting on the under, but I'm not confident in it.
Yeah.
But it's fun if it hits.
43% reliability.
Eat a bug.
For reference, the DJ one they just did was an 82% reliability.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Which we all know is double.
Bunch of bug eaters. See you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow. Or tomorrow's a full episode. I don't know. We're recording these way in advance. Goodbye. Love you lots. Jake, tell everyone you love them.
I love you.